Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, American Mike. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. So, what in the world is going on with Tesla's robotaxi scaling? Why do things feel so stagnant right now? I'm sure we've all seen YouTube titles about Tesla saying things like hiding in plain sight. And I think this is actually one of those situations when you piece everything together. So I've placed all of the public commentary chronologically, and when you do that, it makes a lot of sense. And by the end, I think you will see why Tesla has been waiting to really scale. August 6th of last year, Elon said Tesla's training a new FSD model with around 10 times the parameters and a big improvement to video compression loss. Probably ready for public release end of next month if testing goes well. So at that point, Elon was expecting Tesla to release a new FSD model with that 10 times bigger parameter count sometime in September 2025. Then on August 10th, Elon said the FSD release in about 6 weeks will be a dramatic gain with a 10 times higher parameter count and many other improvements. It's going through training and testing now. Once we confirm real-world safety of FSD 14, which we think will be amazing, the car will nag you much less. And this is why everybody started to think when FSD 14 rolled out, that would be the model with the 10 times higher parameter count. But September came and went, and still nothing. Then October 4th, Elon said a last-minute bug cropped up with version 14. Release is pushed to Monday, but that gives us time to add a few more features. Then October 7th, Elon said many more Tesla self-driving V14 improvements still to come, but wide rollout of version 14.1 has begun. 14.2 rolls out in a few weeks, and then 14.3 a few weeks later, depending on safety testing. There is so much change that we are carefully confirming each one. Also on October 7th, Elon shared a post talking about a first review of 14.1 and said much more still to come. By 14.3, your car will feel like it's sentient. But then at the end of October last year on the Q3 call, Elon said we're going to be increasing the parameter count by an order of magnitude. That is not in 14.1. There are also a number of other improvements to the AI that are quite radical. This car will feel like it's a living creature. That's how good the AI will get with the AI4 computer before AI5. So very clearly, that 10 times bigger parameter model never actually made it to FSD 14. And as we've seen, it was never mentioned in the release notes even through version 14.2. Then much later in the call, Elon said, we will be adding reasoning to, reasoning in 14.3, maybe 14.4, something like that. Ashok then said, yeah, or by the end of this year for sure, which would have been by the end of 2025. But remember, we also heard that Tesla was partially adding bits of reasoning into the model. So it's safe to say that some reasoning has been added, but there will be more reasoning to come. Then Elon said, yeah, with reasoning, it's literally going to think about which parking spot to pick. It's going to say this is the entrance, but actually probably there's not a parking spot right at the entrance. If the parking lot is fairly full, the probability of an open spot right at the entrance is very low. But actually what it will do is drop you off at the entrance of the store and then go find a parking spot. That's the feature we're expecting to be called Banish. It's going to spot empty spots better than a human. Ashok said it's going to use reasoning to solve things. But here is the crucial line. Elon said, yep, putting that all inside the computer that has AI4 is the actual challenge. That's what the team is working on. Obviously, you can do reasoning on the server that takes forever, but in the car, you need to make real-time decisions. Putting all of that in the car, that is the challenge. Then FSD 14.2 started going wide November 21st. And that's when Elon said 14.3 is where the last big piece of the puzzle finally lands. On the same day, NHTSA was talking about 14.2 and said this is not a small update, to which Elon said indeed, nor is 14.3. And then at the ACEA hackathon in December, Elon said there's a model that's an order of magnitude larger that will be deployed in January or February 2026. We're going to add a lot of reasoning and reinforcement learning. To get to serious scale, Tesla will probably need to build a giant chip fab. To have a few hundred gigawatts of AI chips per year, I don't see that capability coming online fast enough, so we will probably have to build a fab. So to me, it's pretty clear that 10 times bigger parameter model that's been in development well before August last year and was supposed to launch sometime in September of last year is still yet to ship. And the latest we've heard from Elon about it, he's expecting that new, bigger model to ship before the end of this month, which only gives the Tesla team 4 more days to hit that deadline. And again, a lot more reasoning is expected to be added with that model. So what does all of this mean? Well, that 10 times bigger parameter model was supposed to launch September 2025. It's now been in the works and delayed for 5 months. So it's pretty obvious, either this model is not testing as well from a safety perspective as Tesla wants to see, or Tesla is having a harder time than it's expected getting it to run well with AI4. Because as we showed, Elon wants all of this reasoning to be run through the inference on the car. That thinking, reasoning, and problem solving needs to happen in real time. There cannot be any type of lag. And given Elon's recent comments at the XAI hackathon, it does seem like 14.3 could finally be the model that has the 10 times parameter count. And in Elon's mind, since summer of last year, this has been the last big piece of the puzzle. Incorporating all of this reasoning and problem solving to take the sentience, especially around parking, to a new level. And we know that pickup and drop off is a crucial part of a smooth robotaxi operation. So am I expecting to see 14.3 in the public in 4 days? No, I'll personally add an Elon multiplier of 1 to 2 months to set comfortable, realistic expectations of a launch in March or April. Especially given that it's already been delayed months from Elon's original expectation. But anything later than that, and I think it's fair to have concerns that Tesla is struggling to get all of those parameters on AI4. And given that we know AI5 is not going to ship until late 2027 at best, Tesla really needs to figure this out on AI4. So for now, the big question remains, can Tesla get this bigger model, one that is likely required to scale unsupervised significantly to work on AI4. Everything Tesla has ever done to date to optimize for efficiency, and the ever important metric intelligence density per gigabyte that Elon likes to use, has prepared Tesla for this moment. And we're going to find out in the weeks ahead if Tesla can deliver yet again. Back to present, over the weekend, Elon said Tesla self-driving now recognizes hand signals. Just remember, as we saw in those construction videos recently, this feature does not work reliably just yet. So it may be capable of understanding in some situations, but it is certainly not flawless. Earlier this month, we shared the video of FSD 14.2.2.4 driving Daniel into a lake had he not intervened. And he shared an update, 14.2.2.5 also did not stop for the lake. He tried it in a new Model Y with a front bumper camera and it did not stop. Christian Garcia said the greatest shortcoming of FSD is that it cannot be prompted by language. If you could tell it find a parking spot near the door or turn right the block after, the car would not have to guess. Elon replied to that saying, coming. Now, this is one of those that brings more questions than answers. Will this be controlled through Grok or will it be direct input to the FSD model? Is it coming with 14.3 or a future update like FSD 15 or beyond? Will it work in real time, meaning it can take an immediate right turn based on verbal input, or will it only be for planning parts of the trip in advance? I think it's pretty easy to see how somebody yelling, "take this exit," while going 80 on the highway with minimal time to react could cause dangerous situations. So free-for-all verbal prompting would be very surprising to me without significant guardrails, especially in the near term. But this is the first confirmation we've got that Tesla will use verbal commands to control FSD and for the public, not just for debugging and training FSD behind the scenes, which Tesla has been doing to make the thinking of the models more transparent for the engineers. So this is certainly big, exciting news. And basic navigation commands like we have with Grok in the US are now starting to roll out to Tesla owners across Australia and New Zealand. And just part of the reason we need Tesla's robotaxi to start scaling, Chris from Dirty Tesla did a review of robotaxi after being in Austin. He said it failed in wait times as frequently throughout the day I would watch the app for an hour plus and not see a single robotaxi available. And Ethan McConnell, the creator of the robotaxi tracker app, has been hired by Tesla as an intern for the summer. He'll be joining the vehicle software team where he'll have the chance to help build the robotaxi experience. So it'll be interesting to see if the robotaxi tracker app stays up to date. But as of now, in Austin, it has 44 active robotaxi vehicles. Ethan did say, I'll be stepping away from the robotaxi tracker while I'm gone for the summer, but we'll make sure it's in good hands and stays fully operational. But we know semantics matters, and fully operational does not have to mean always up to date. So zooming out, of course, I would not say this is Tesla's last chance to scale robotaxi. That's preposterous. But it might be a 3-month or so window where if things continue to stall, the stock might start to reflect some moderate panic. But it might actually be your last chance to get something that helped 97% of participants to feel more energy after 1 month, and 80% noticed improved digestion after 1 month. Sounds pretty great, right? That's because it has indeed been clinically studied and shown to close common nutrient gaps like those in key vitamins and minerals that often decline with age and busy lifestyles. I'm talking about AG1, the sponsor of this video, and a regular part of my life now for years. You've seen me drink it in the mornings, in the afternoon, and at night, and it now comes in multiple flavors. AG1 includes zinc, which helps to support normal testosterone levels in the blood, and has B vitamins, magnesium, and adaptogens that help support energy levels, stress management, and hormonal regulation. Now, it's not a magic panacea, and it should be paired with a whole food-based balanced diet. But it's an excellent source of 75 vitamins, minerals, and probiotics to support not just your microbiome health, but overall vitality. So if you want to support the channel, perhaps for the last time, and more importantly, your health, if you head to drinkag1.com/electrified linked below, you'll get 3 free AG1 travel packs and 3 free AGZ travel packs, plus a free vitamin D3 K2 and an AG1 welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. NHTSA just announced it will host an automated vehicle safety public meeting on March 10th. This will be an all-day event to provide updates and insights into ongoing and upcoming vehicle automation activities. The first portion of the meeting will have keynote addresses from the Department of Transportation leadership and industry executive panel discussions on key automated driving systems topics. The second portion of the meeting will build upon the ADS workshop that was held November 20th last year. At this meeting, NHTSA intends to gather specific input on potential actions, including potential future guidance to the safe domestic development, testing, and deployment of ADS-equipped vehicles. Unfortunately for us, if you go to the Federal Register, it does indeed say that this event will not be live streamed. Now, that does not have to mean that videos of these discussions will never be uploaded online. But for now, it's unclear how privy the public will be to these conversations and how soon. But the public docket will remain open for comments for 30 days following the meeting until April 10th. And of course, the more meetings and hearings that we have on autonomy, the better chance we're going to have of a federal framework actually coming to fruition for AVs. Tesla's Model Y L has now been approved for sale in Australia. This, according to documents published by the Department of Infrastructure's Road Vehicle Regulator, or ROVR. You may recall late last year, the Model Y L received an EU type approval, marking the first time it was considered for overseas markets after initially launching in China. I'm sure many of us remember what Elon said about the Model Y L and that it would not start production in the US until the end of 2026, but he also said it might not ever given the advent of self-driving. Also in December of last year, the Model Y L was granted approval for sale by the Netherlands Vehicle Authority, the RDW. And as we've seen, regulatory approval typically comes a few months before a model's official launch. So to be clear, the Model Y L is not yet available in the Netherlands or Australia, but these approvals would indicate that it will be in the near future. And according to the approval documents for Australia, the Model Y L will be available in both front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive variants. But for now, the pricing is unclear. So the Model Y L has been cleared for delivery across the EU and Australia, but for now, the only factory making the Model Y L, as far as we know, is still Giga Shanghai. But most importantly, all signs are pointing to Model Y L sales across parts of the EU and Australia beginning either late Q1 or into Q2. And for Americans, it's status quo. We're just hoping for the best. And perhaps part of the reason Tesla is now pushing to have the Model Y L for sale across the EU is thanks to what we see for new car registration data that we got today from the ACEA. Important context, overall car registrations for January were down 3.9% year over year. The market share for full BEVs was 19.3%, which was actually up from 14.9% January of 2025. But the share of hybrid EVs continues to grow, coming in at 38.6% January this year. Looking at the top 3 biggest markets by volume for BEVs, Germany in first place was up 23.8% for January year over year. In second place, we have France up 52.1% year over year. And in third, we have the UK, which was up only 0.1% year over year. And an honorable mention, somewhat surprisingly, in fourth place by volume would be Belgium, which was actually down 11.5% year over year. But looking at the data by manufacturer for the EU, EFTA, and the UK, both columns will have the same data since it's only for January so far. But Tesla for the month of January is down 17% year over year. And remember, last year, the new Model Y was announced in January. And then throughout Q1, 2, and really into Q3, Tesla was busy changing over production around the world to the new Model Y and eventually to the new Model 3. And Tesla's market share in January last year was 1%, but this January it's down to 0.8%. And looking at the data, this was Tesla's 13th consecutive month of declining sales in Europe. And I have to at least point out what BYD is doing. Last January, they shipped 6,884 units. This year, BYD shipped 18,242, up 165% year over year, which was good for 1.9% of the market. Which means in January, BYD sold more than twice as many units as Tesla's raw number was 8,075 for the month. And again, that data was for the EU, EFTA, and the UK. It's also worth pointing out the VW group was down 3.8% year over year. Renault was down 15%, Hyundai down 12.5%, Toyota down 13.4%, BMW down 5.7%, Ford, Nissan, and Volvo were all down between 13 and 17%. So it's not like Tesla is the only company struggling, because at the group level, only Stellantis was up 6.7%, Mercedes-Benz was up 2.8%, and then BYD was up 165%. At the group level, every other manufacturer was negative for January. So of course, you will see plenty of headlines singling out Tesla about their sales crashing without talking about anybody else. But in reality, it's nearly everybody else that's also seeing their sales decline. But if there's a silver lining, Tesla is not sitting idle.
Hi everyone, it's Will from Tesla Jigsaw. Today I'm really excited to take you inside Tesla's brand new flagship delivery hub, Tesla Manchester Trafford, the biggest Tesla site in the UK at over 155,000 square foot. Officially opened yesterday for me, depending on when you were watching this. That's on 21st of February 2026. This massive place is built for thousands of deliveries, handling new Teslas, certified pre-owned sales, used car refurbs, test drives, and letting you browse pre-loved cars in person. My tour of the grand opening event starts now. Past the reception desk and through to the entrance lounge, there's a Tesla Model Y body in white, massive photos covering the walls, all leading to a red corridor of suspense to the Rave Cave, which was inspired by Giga Berlin's mini nightclub for its workers. We watched a short video highlighting Tesla's achievements and mission before smacking a hedgehog, which opened up the doors to a whopping amount of Teslas. As EV Beano found out, this site can cope with 618 cars at any one time. But this isn't just a building for handovers and deliveries of new Teslas, it also handles used Teslas, refurbishes them, and is the place to go if you want to physically look around pre-loved Teslas and choose your own.
Tesla is now suing the California DMV to reverse the ruling that Tesla engaged in false advertising of FSD. The suit comes 2 months after the state's Office of Administrative Hearings determined Tesla engaged in false advertising and said the DMV could temporarily suspend the company's licenses to manufacture or sell cars in the state. But instead, the DMV asked Tesla to clean up its marketing language. And as we know, the agency said Tesla did so appropriately and no license suspension would be required. However, Tesla said that's not enough. We now want the DMV to go further. Tesla's attorneys are now alleging that the agency wrongfully and baselessly labeled Tesla a false advertiser for its prior use of the terms autopilot and full self-driving. Tesla's attorneys allege the DMV never proved consumers in the state had been confused about whether its cars were safe to drive without a human at the wheel. Tesla's lawyers are saying when Tesla used that naming, it was impossible to buy a Tesla with autopilot or FSD or to use any of their associated features without seeing clear and repeated statements that they do not make the vehicle autonomous. And in a separate class action lawsuit that's going through California courts, Tesla customers who bought FSD expecting their cars to be upgraded into robotaxi-ready vehicles over time are asking for their money back. So this new lawsuit from Tesla is clearly in its very early stages. No hearings have been scheduled, and as far as I can tell, the DMV has not even filed a response yet. So in the next month or two, the DMV will likely file an answer or a motion to dismiss. And if they choose the latter, we could get a hearing on the matter in the next 3 months. So why is Tesla doing this even though it can still make and sell its vehicles in California? Well, it's pretty simple. The next few years, Tesla will be very focused on autonomy and they do not want to be labeled as a false advertiser in that industry. The official ruling still labels Tesla's autopilot as misleading and FSD as unambiguously false and counterfactual, which Tesla is clearly arguing hurts its image. And further, Tesla wants to prove that the DMV actually failed to prove that any actual customers were harmed with that labeling. And we've talked about other ongoing litigation against Tesla for autopilot and FSD. So that false advertiser label for Tesla would of course hurt them in those other cases as well. Today, we also have a US judge that's refusing to dismiss a lawsuit accusing Tesla of discriminating against American citizens in hiring so it can pay less to foreign workers. But the judge said he was skeptical that the software engineer bringing this suit who sued Tesla would actually prevail. A San Francisco judge said that Scott Taub, who filed the proposed class action in September, offered just enough facts about Tesla's hiring practices for the case to move forward. Scott is also arguing that layoffs at Tesla have disproportionately targeted US citizens. The lawsuit says Tesla is dependent on holders of H-1Bs, including in 2024 when it hired around 1,355 visa holders, while laying off more than 6,000 workers domestically, the vast majority believed to be US citizens. But for what it's worth, after looking at all of the facts presented, the judge is still saying all of this causes the court to be somewhat skeptical of Taub's allegations. But despite that skepticism, he's allowing the case to move forward. And just so you know, Scott said in the lawsuit that he was explicitly told by a staffing company that the engineering position he was applying for was H-1B only, which would effectively bar US applicants from the position. So personally, I think it would be very hard to prove that Tesla was intentionally discriminating against US workers, so this is a procedural win for the plaintiff, but I'm not expecting anything groundbreaking in discovery or any major negative outcomes for Tesla. In an upcoming version of the Tesla mobile app, it looks like the self-driving stats will finally come to the mobile app as well. Not a Tesla app is saying when it launches, the FSD stats section will appear as a top-level category on the app's home screen. And just like in the car, the app will calculate the FSD percentage for you. And it looks like Tesla's building in a feature to share your FSD stats with others. And Tesla App Updates is saying that Tesla's also building a structured, interactive loyalty program directly into the app, moving way beyond the basic refer and earn links. It will be a program you have to actively join. And finally, we'll get some gamification and tiers, which heavily implies owners will work towards specific goals, status tiers, or the Tesla challenges hinted at in previous updates. You might earn progress by hitting supercharging milestones using FSD or referring friends. And instead of just getting a generic credit, you'll likely be able to browse and spend your earned loyalty points on specific items, upgrades, or services. And there might be some new visuals or digital badges to go along with your loyalty status for this program. And honestly, with this one, I would just say it's about time. The new, cheaper trim of the Cybertruck that was going to be available June of this year has been pushed back to September to October this year. So I think it's safe to assume that demand has been a bit higher than Tesla was expecting. But beware, officially on the site, Tesla now says the dual-motor Cybertruck all-wheel drive starting at $59,990. The price for that trim will increase after February 28th. So far, we're on track with what we were expecting. I would expect the price increase to be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. And an important point on the suspension of this trim. We know Tesla uses coil springs and adaptive dampers. Cyber Mike said it's still smoother, quieter, and more planted than the leaf spring bounce on the Ford F-150, Chevy Silverado, or Ram 1500 base trims. Ford even ditched their adaptive shocks. Cybertruck wins on ride quality without the air suspension. Wes replied to that saying, exactly, only Ford's Raptor trims have active dampers, and only model year 2024 plus have dual valve, individual compression, and rebound active dampers that come on all versions of Cybertruck. Uber just put out a press release to announce its own autonomous solutions, which will be a comprehensive suite of unique services and capabilities that are already helping partners to build and successfully commercialize autonomous vehicles in multiple markets around the world. Beyond just getting access to Uber's leading demand marketplace, this new program will provide the capabilities required for true end-to-end commercialization, reducing cost per mile while increasing speed to market. Uber's autonomous solutions is designed to complement their strengths by providing operational depth wherever they need it, whether that's demand generation, rider experience, customer support, or managing the day-to-day realities of running a real-world fleet. The program will cover 3 areas: infrastructure, user experience, and fleet operations. Uber is touting using its fleet for training data. They're talking about data-enriched mapping, complex venue and event management, regulatory support, and fleet financing. This program will be focused on helping their partners with the in-car experience, with complex use cases, and with end-to-end support. And for fleets, they've developed AV Mission Control, which is fleet intelligence software and a management solution that gives operators a real-time view of every vehicle per AV status indicators into system-level insight that keeps fleets efficient. They're offering remote assistance and field support operations, as well as things like AV insurance. So looking beyond all of the corporate speak in this press release, this seems to boil down as Uber's pitch of a data and monetization layer, which will leverage all of the Uber trips to help with mapping and ETAs, and leveraging its fleet in partnership with other providers to help all of Uber's partners ultimately win. So Uber's pivot could not be any more clear. It's no longer building AVs. It's now solely focused on creating an ecosystem to help enable them. I think the problem with this for Uber in the long term is that any successful AV company is likely going to be doing all of these things on its own because it's going to want its own vertical integration so as to not be reliant on any other third party. So in the near term, an offering like this from Uber might help smaller AV companies like Nuro. But as far as I can tell, for a company like Tesla or even Waymo to some degree, this offering would not actually be very valuable. And I'm sure this program from Uber will evolve over time, and many smaller AV companies will flock to it just for the demand aspect alone. But as we've been saying, this is very clearly a survival play from Uber, as it knows if it does not get integrated with the AV future, it will not have a future itself. So of course, from Uber's perspective, they have to do this. They need to attract as many AV companies as they can to get robotaxis on its fleet as soon as possible. And with Tesla so far refusing to partner with Uber, that only turns up the heat for Uber to deploy something like this. And it will remain to be seen if this offering will help Uber attract more autonomous vehicle companies. Joe Tetmeyer got a tour of the Cybercab production line, and in a recent Spaces, he said there were hundreds of Cybercabs inside the building at Giga Texas. The Tesla Model Y won Australia's 2026 Drive Car of the Year. The Model Y was already Australia's best-selling EV in 2025 and was the 10th best-selling vehicle overall. They said it's possibly the most technologically advanced car available on the Australian market today, and it's positioned at a price point that a huge number of Australian families can find accessible. This is an award-winning strategy. Lamborghini is now abandoning its EV plans as their CEO confirmed their first EV is dead before it arrived. Their two-door electric vehicle planned for 2028 or 2029 is now officially canceled. The Lambo CEO said it would be financially irresponsible for the company to invest heavily in the development of a pure EV when interest in such a model is close to zero. Waymo said today that they're now welcoming the first public riders into their ride-hailing service in 4 new cities: Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Orlando. This marks the first time Waymo has opened to the public in multiple cities simultaneously. They said this brings our total commercial metro areas to 10 and deepens our commitment in the states of Texas and Florida. Select riders from tens of thousands in these cities who have downloaded the app will receive an invitation to take their first local rides today. Waymo will be inviting new riders on a rolling basis to ensure a seamless experience across our initial service areas. Here's the map for Dallas, for Houston, for San Antonio, and for Orlando. And hopefully we get a very similar announcement from Tesla here sometime in the first half of this year. Volvo will be recalling over 40,000 of its flagship EV, the EX30, because their battery packs risk overheating. They said, "We are now contacting the owners of all affected cars to advise them of the next steps." BMW will be removing the Level 3 driver assistant from the refreshed 7 Series, which will be replaced by a new Level 2 technology. Which means BMW will now join Stellantis and Mercedes in shifting focus from Level 3 backwards to Level 2. So for Legacy Auto, when it comes to both pure EVs and autonomy, I hate to say it, but the industry really is in a state of collapse. Which is great for Tesla, but for fans of EVs and autonomy in general, not so much. And we have Berkant reporting that Tesla is working on a major wiper upgrade. Apparently, Tesla might start using the full surround camera vision, not just the front cameras anymore. It'll detect spray from cars ahead and detect reflections and mist on the hood. Tesla is specifically targeting drizzle and road spray, the situations where current auto wipers struggle the most. I would argue that auto wipers struggle in all scenarios. But for now, the upgrade is still in shadow mode. This really is already a solved problem industry-wide with a rain sensor, but likely from a no part is the best part perspective, Tesla has refused to adopt that strategy. So hopefully this future software update will fix the auto wiper scenario, but I'll believe it when I see it. And a fun fact, Tesla North America said the Tesla Diner was constructed using recycled stainless steel from Cybertruck production. Tesla stock closed the day at $409.38, up 2.39%, while the NDX was up 1.09%. The volume was 3% below the average. Don't forget, check out AG1 linked below for anybody interested. Again, this might be the last chance you have to use one of my links to check out AG1. And to everybody to date that has, seriously, I cannot thank you enough. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.